Becoming a successful professional speaker is a journey. How do you find that first stage, the next stage, and then the bigger and better stages? I'm Lee Hayes, your host. My co-hosts and I are here to guide you to a more successful speaking career. You're listening to Path to the Main Stage podcast. I'm excited to bring you today's guest because she's going to teach you about the essentials of getting started as an emerging speaker. But first, let me tell you a little bit about her. Today, I have Christina Daves, who is the host of a podcast called Living Ageless and Bold, which, just as an aside plug, it is a fabulous podcast about amazing women who just I aspire to be. So I love that podcast. Go listen to it. And I understand, Christina, that you just got awarded the Female Hosted Podcast of the Year by American Writing Awards.
I did.
So just throw that out there. You were also the lifestyle TV host for QVC. You were an author, PR for everyone. You're a professional speaker yourself. And you are a master of getting PR. So welcome to the show, Christina.
Hi, it's so good to be here with you.
Well, thanks for coming aboard. So Christina Daves is, like I said, all those things, and she's going to teach us today about what you need to do first. So can we start with your origin story? How did you get started in PR? I think this is the coolest story that actually comes around a corner.
Yeah, I talk about literally, I was the accidental entrepreneur. But I had owned a retail store and got really burned out, and my kids were young. I'm like, forget this working thing. I'm going to volunteer and be that mom. And it just, you all, if you're entrepreneurs, you know that's never going to happen. But we were on vacation in Canada. I had this freak accident and I broke my foot and ended up in one of those big, awful medical boots. And we were headed to New York City. So I'm like,
those
oh my
big,
gosh.
Sexy black boots,
yeah.
Right?
That some doctors feel the need to brand, like with a big label with their orthopedic name on it. They're horrible. So I'm on the train going to New York with my husband, Googling medical boot fashions, medical boot accessories. Like, there's got to be a store in New York where I could find something. And there was nothing there, and the light bulbs went off. My husband says he could literally see the light bulbs, the entrepreneurial light bulbs. And I created a fashion line for medical boots. And it was great, and it was a great concept. The problem was it didn't exist in the marketplace. So I had to figure out, how do I educate people that they need medical boot fashions? So I had hired a coach, an expert, and sadly, I'm sure a lot of people who were paying attention have hired coaches that did not do them right, did them wrong. And I spent $24,000 with a coach that was supposed to get this on QVC and do all this stuff. And now, oh my gosh, I know so much better. Long story short, he took my money and ran. And that forced me to figure out, how do I get known? How do I get this product known? And I literally went to the library and I read about PR and I read white papers and all kinds of stuff online. This was 15 years ago. And I figured out a system. I created my own system. I used it on myself and it worked. I landed on the Steve Harvey show. I was named as his top inventor. I won $20,000, which almost paid for the money my guy stole from me. And then I was like, well, let me try it out on some friends. Let's just see. I think it works. It works for me. So I helped one friend. I'm like, just do this exactly. Just do exactly what I tell you to do. And she got on Dr. Oz twice, and I think it was 60 days.
Wow.
Might have even been 30 days. It was crazy. Like, ooh, I might be onto something. So, but then I went to these like entrepreneurial events. And, you do breakout sessions and people are like, forget the boot. How are you doing that? How do you get me on TV? How do you get me in the media? Because, speakers, coaches, authors, they don't have PR budgets, but they know that they have a really good message. They have a really good story to tell. So that's when I kind of shifted away from the boot and really got into PR for anyone and really got into speaking about it, teaching about it, writing books about it. Because if you know the system and the strategy, it works for everybody. I was knock on wood when I say this, but nobody's ever come to me and said, Christina, I did exactly what you said and it didn't work. because it works. It just works.
It works, but and I have a story not as horrible as yours, not that amount of money, but at the same time, I hired a PR person for my speakers. Same thing. They took the money and ran because I understand that they can't promise to get you on TV. Turns out she didn't promise to even promote any of the speakers to anything. Like, she didn't have to try to get anybody anything. That was not part of the agreement either. Apparently, I didn't read the small print.
I was just going to say, isn't it funny what that small print says? Because that's what mine said too. And, when somebody hands you a 10-page contract, you're like, oh, this is so great. I'm just going to sign it.
Just going to sign. But yeah, no, it's so anybody who wants to hire somebody for PR, first of all, you're not going to have to, because you're going to get a couple gems today to get started. But also read that small print that a promoter, a PR person, doesn't have to guarantee that you get on. They don't even have to guarantee to try to get you on. So do watch that anyway. And I digress, because I'm sure many of the listeners feel that pain. So we just wanted to share. But all right, so how did you get on the Steve Harvey show? And then we'll go maybe from there.
Yeah, well, and this is a great resource. You guys write this down. It left, it came back, it left, it's back again. So help a reporter, helpareporter.com. And a gentleman by the name of Peter Shankman founded this years ago because he knew a lot of journalists and they were looking for sources. So he's like, well, let me just throw an email out. I know a gazillion people. And it became this huge thing that's now 3 times a day, and it's all journalist queries. They're all looking for experts to quote or interview.
Right. And
which makes it a lot.
HARO.com, right? Harrow.com.
Well, it's helpareporter.com.
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 Okay, Harrow's different.
Yeah. No, that is Harrow. It's
Okay.
Help a Reporter out, but the actual domain is helpareporter.com.
Okay. And that's, like you said, that's legit. These are real journalists looking
I
to
got
fill
on the
real stories.
Steve Harvey show. There was a query that said, do you have a product you want to take to the next level, parentheses, national television? And here's the thing. I responded to that in August, and I heard back in October. And I didn't know it was the Steve Harvey show. So a lot of people use it. You want to be really good at pitching it very quickly and with a really good pitch. And this is my best piece of advice I'm going to give to everybody. I'm going to teach you some things on how to pitch. Do not write an email like this. and I don't know if we're doing audio or video, but I'm holding my hands like really high and low. And I always say to my clients, I want you to think about your email box. Which emails do you read and which ones do you flag for later? And if you're like me, the ones you flag for later, you never look at again. So you want the short and sweet, get to the point. Journalists are busy. Give them what they want. Give it to them quickly. Give them a great story and give them something they have to say yes or no to. Give them something that's relevant or timely. Try to stay away from evergreen, because the more, again, if it's seasonal, if it's something that's happening in the world right now, if it's related to the month or whatever that is, they have to decide. They can't say, oh, let's use that later and put it in a file. They've got to say, yeah, this is great, or no, not right now.
That's fascinating advice, because I have heard about, evergreen sells because then it never runs out. But in news, that's not true.
That's not true. You want what's hot now. And they even have, and I've interviewed so many journalists, they've got charts in the back room, like whiteboards, about whose Facebook has the most following and who's getting the most engagement. And we call it newsjacking, like what's happening right now that people are talking about, and that's going to keep that news cycle going. So if you can step into it, I always tell the story, and now it's very old, but the very first big data breach was at Target on Black Friday. Do you remember that? Several years ago. And I remember
there have been many, so while it's an old story, it's new to me. So do tell.
That's the big one. That was the big one. That was the first big, huge data breach of a company like that. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I was just at Target. Like, what do I do? So I turn on the news, and the 4:00 news was a business coach. And she was talking about the impact it would have on Target. And I was like, wow. I knew exactly what she did. She picked up the phone and she called and she's like, I can come right now. I can be in the studio. Now, by the 5 o'clock and the 6 o'clock news, they had found their cyber experts. But it was quick. It had just happened. And I was like, that woman is genius. So jumping on stories like that, that's how you get on. That's how you in proactive. And even though we all think the smartest thing would have been a cybersecurity expert or a cloud expert, data expert, she got there first. And that's why she got on TV. She was on NBC.
All right, so we got to hustle. That's step one. And not just hustle once a week, but like you said, this help a reporter, that comes out 3 times a day. So you need to be watching.
And it's 5 minutes to look through it, you guys. And if you miss one, you miss it. Don't go backwards. Look at tomorrow's. Like, don't kill yourself. But it's because think about this. Same thing with you. If you were to ask a question and people email you and the first 2 emails are great, you're not going to read the rest of them. You don't have time for that. So it's the first ones in with a great response are the ones who are going to be interviewed or be quoted or sourced for that.
And it's interesting you say that because I've always told speakers that speed matters, but not in this instance, right? So when I tell speakers speed matters, it's that when you receive a request to speak, answer immediately, right? Some speakers go, no, I don't want to look desperate. I'm like, get out there now. It's not desperate. But if they reached out to 10 people and you're one of the first ones and they love you, they'll take you. So it sounds like news is the same way. If you just get on it and they like you, that's the way to go. Beautiful. Yep. Okay. Next, let's jump to the next tip. So it's hard for me to run where we're going here because you're so much more of an expert than I am. But the one is to help a reporter out. What other news coverage did you get for your medical boots that would be applicable to speakers?
So my first year in business, I was in 50 media outlets, 50, because I pitched a good story. That's the thing. We all want the expose. We all want the, let's talk about Christina Daves. No, they don't care. What the media wants is value to their audience. So what value could I bring? So the inventor story is good. The how I got screwed over by a coach, that's part of the story. How I created the product. There were so many stories involved with it. And then you find these crazy holidays that you can align with. We had on our local Fox, she would do once a week, the next big thing. And I was literally watching at 11 o'clock at night. I'm never up that late. So I tweeted at the journalist because she had done, this is so dating it, but it was so good back in the day. The Dollar Shave Club had that great video. And she was talking about that. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was so awesome. And she replied back and said, if you know any products that would fit in my segment, let me know. Well, I did. Of course, I had my product, but I had to give her a theme. Like I had to do. And so I was on for the first time on Fox it was April, which is National Healthy Foot Month. And we tied in 3 products, and that's how I got on. So you need to think outside of the box. It's not just going to be, you get the adventure story, you get your topic once, maybe twice, but you've got to think bigger. You've got to think from up here that you're the expert in that space and really align yourself with that. And I'll give you, to try to show this as an example. I had a client who owned, I can't remember anymore if it was 14 or 17 homeless shelters in Orange County, California, Grandma's House of Hope. And she's like, Christina, I just want to get on TV to talk about Grandma's House of Hope. And I said, okay, Janae, that's great, but that's once, maybe once a year if we're really lucky. Why? Why are they going to keep telling your story over and over again? I said, but if I can position you as the expert in homelessness in California, we can get you on over and over and over again. And sure enough, when the laws changed, she would, when there were laws about homeless in California, boom, she was on. And of course, the ticker at the bottom is Janae Crichton, founder, Grandma's House of Hope. So she's constantly getting out there talking about, there was one story, this is actually one of my favorite stories because I didn't know this was a thing. In California, if you are having chemotherapy, you can't have chemotherapy treatment unless you have an address on your form. You have a home to go back to.
Oh, wow. Never heard that.
Wow, got her on TV all over the place because of that, because one of her shelters was for cancer patients. So and then she started to see it, she started to get it. She's like, oh, now I get it. So you all as speakers, what is that topic you speak on? Is it leadership, AI, empathy, whatever it is that you talk about? You've got to think in a bigger picture, not just you and your speaking topic, but how are you the expert in that space for all stories related to it, not just what you speak on, not just your 30-minute keynote or 30-minute workshop, whatever that is. In terms for media, think of yourself as the expert in the whole industry, and that position yourself that way. And let me tell you, meeting planners love speakers who are in the media. And you can probably speak to that. I keynoted at an event in April, and the promotion of me and my talk had nothing to do with the talk. Christina Daves, she's on Fox every single month. She does this. She's a lifestyle expert. And my talk was on like becoming a young leader. How do you position yourself with your bosses to stand out? But they didn't care about. I mean, they loved the talk, but
Right.
They loved me that I was famous. Quote, I say my
air quotes, but yes, because I always say if you're a speaker, you have to have celebrity. And celebrity, if you look it up in Webster's, we're using all these old-fashioned terms, it says known by others. That's it. That's what celebrity is. Because people go, but Lee, I'm not in the movies. You don't have to be in the movies. But on TV, articles posted about, and not just social streams, but posted by others.
By others.
Counts so much more than posting yourself.
Yeah.
So, all right. So being on TV is huge. What about getting people to post about you? I mean, as far as, there's still online magazines. There's Forbes, there's Inc,
Absolutely.
There's all these. How do you get noticed by online publications?
Same thing. It's find who's writing about your topic and pitch them. But it's got to be a good pitch. Remember, the journalists on the other side need content. They need good content. So if you give them good content, they are going to say yes. And the more good content you give them, the more, like, this is how I built my TV, quote unquote career, is I pitch them good stories. I do a great job for them when I'm on. And now I don't even have to do the whole pitch anymore. It's like, hey, what do you think about this? And why don't I co-host that day? They're like, oh, perfect, done. Just the day before, send me what you're going to talk about. Because they know I've never let them down. I've done a really good job. And you want to get to that point. So it's the same thing with, Harrow has a lot of Forbes, Entrepreneur, things like that. Again, just, there's this amazing resource called Google that you can go into. And I will give your listeners and your viewers something if they want to do it. There is a database called pitchdb.com. So basically pitch database, pitchdb.com. And I know the guy who created it. It's phenomenal. It's an AI-based pitching platform. Now, and I tell Ron this, don't use their AI pitches. You got to do the short and sweet like I talked about. But they have 4 million podcasts, speaking engagements, all in this one thing. And if you want to try it out, what is my code? It's PR Famous. Is the code. You'll get a month for free and you'll get 100 pitches. So you can try it out. And then if you want to stay on, because you use that code, I think it's like 25% off. It's $67 a month. It's like nothing to do all this pitching right there. You have everything right there. So if you're serious about it and you want to dive in, you're welcome to use it, try it, test it. It's great. But it's just finding those journalists who talk about your topic and pitching good stories.
So give me a good pitch. I want to understand what a pitch is like. If you were going to, let's say you were going to pitch me how to be on my podcast, right? Because you got to pitch podcasts too. And I always recommend speakers get on podcasts, but you can't just say, I want to be a guest. You have to pitch them. Give me a pitch.
Okay. So I would pitch you and I would say, Lee, one of the number one things that meeting planners look for is celebrity in their speakers. And I can come on and in 30 minutes, I can give your listeners 5 tips that I don't want to say guarantee because we can never guarantee, but I will give them 5 tips that will give them rocket fuel to learn how to start pitching the media so that they can be in the media hopefully within the next 30 days. And my proven track record is I'm on TV every single month. My podcast is a regular television segment as well. Together with my clients, I have over 1 billion views and over $100 million in sales. So I would type that out. It would be about 3 sentences. I would bold some things. I would bold that billion views, 100 million in sales. And what do you think? Would you want me on?
Take you.
And this is not even time to think about it. I would clean that up a little bit, but that's...
Yeah, no, I realize, but also, so I'm hearing a lot of numbers. So I'm thinking, from what I'm hearing is facts sell too, right? So what you didn't say, which is what many speakers say is, outstanding speaker, in demand, best-selling author, but that doesn't say anything. Like you just gave me just the facts, ma'am, right? You just threw numbers at me that were so impressive. So is that right? You should be giving hard facts and not just adjectives?
Right. So I would say show, don't tell. If you say you're a high in-demand, fabulous speaker, so is everybody. Who says that? And in a pitch, you don't have time to put your testimonial reel. So you want to show them, who you are, what you do. If you've worked with really big companies, I'm a regular consultant for IBM, Google, I don't know, making, big companies.
Whoever.
Put something like that in. That will draw attention to you. Like, wow, there's credibility. So show me that. You don't have, just, you're telling, but show me that instead of, I'm a high in demand, nobody cares. And they're going to check you out anyway. But they I know, I always tell my clients, I'm like, I'm not being mean to you, I promise.
But I don't care. Right. No, it's true. It's true.
But they don't care. It's just like, with meeting planners, they want the best speaker for their audience. Who's going to walk away with transformation, with something they can go and implement and see change so that those people go back to their company and say, oh my gosh, that was the best conference I've ever been to. Christina was so good. She taught me how to do A, B, and C. And I went back and I do this like with my branding stuff. And I go in and some people are doing it right there in the room, like changing things up and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so that's what people want in speaking. That's what people want to be in an article, in a TV segment. What can you do to change the person on the other end? What can you do to help them? It's all about value. And you being an in-demand, whatever, speaker, whatever the other word was, who cares? They're not going to introduce you that way. They're going to introduce you as, so-and-so is the top expert in EI, AI, whatever that is. And they've trained in 1,000 Fortune 100 companies. That's wow. I have my clients write a wow bio. That'll tell you 2 to 3 sentences at the end of every pitch that they can just skim and look at and be like, that's our person. Mm-hmm. So you got to give them wow.
All right, I love the why the wow bio.
Wow bio.
I think that the wow-o.
Say that 10
that's
times
a great
fast.
idea just to have. Is that 50 words maybe? Something that you read it, 2 lines.
2 cents. And I'll tell you why I did it. I had a client who did music therapy, which if you don't know about it, it's kind of out there a little bit. But then a month into it, we were talking and she said, I said, where did you go to school? And she's like, oh, I went to Juilliard and then got my master's at Yale. Right. That's exactly what I did. I was like, what? And she goes, oh, and I'm a 25-year Reiki master. And I used to play with Frank Sinatra every Friday night.
Oh my goodness. It's like, that's your bio, lady.
That she didn't even. So I pull this out of my clients. I'm like, tell me everything, brag about whatever you're embarrassed to tell me. That's so great. Brag and tell me. And then I write their wow bio, because that, again, imagine a journalist is like, music therapy, kind of off the wall a little bit. What is that? But then they see that. Oh, wow. She's on to something, and then the success that she had. But, you just do 2 or 3 sentences.
Fantastic. All right. So now you had mentioned that you are a good guest, that you do a good job for them. You leave them with what they want. I once had, I was, one of my speakers once was asked to be on TV. Like, he did the hustle, right? He did the hustle. They pulled him in. They needed him for something. And he goes, and I bombed. He goes, let me tell it like it was. I bombed and they never had me back again. And he learned how to not bomb. But I'd like to hear from you. Even if they're calling it, I'm going to be, I'm going to be the expert on this. I can be at the studio in 2 hours. What do they do in those 2 hours to prepare to be on?
Yeah, in a perfect world, you kind of know your ideal station that you want to be on, and you've done a little bit of homework. You're always going to start in your backyard.
What should they do to
watch
already pick the right thing?
Just watch the show. I knew that I wanted to be on the Fox morning show. I knew that. It was great. I had been on Good Morning Washington before, even before, like when I started pitching them. Watch how they do it. Watch their segments. Everyone's a little bit different. Remember, I was talking to somebody today. I'm having a reel done. And she said, yeah, Fox films a certain way, which I didn't even realize. All Fox stations film a certain way. And then like ABC stations do a certain way. So I thought that was really interesting. But just watch, just pay attention and kind of get a feel for what it is. Now, remember, TV is visual. You need to have a personality on TV. Even if it's a serious topic, be your serious self, but you have to have emotion. You have to... I remember when I was on the Steve Harvey show, there were 6 of us competing for a big prize. And this one woman was just talking like this, and here's my product. And the producer's like, where's the lady in the video? Like, if you can't be the lady in the video, I can't have you on TV. This was our rehearsal before, which normally you don't do, like on live TV, but they gave us a little run through. And she said that, she's like, this is TV. When I co-host, it's energy, it's fun, it's laughter. It's, if you're on a morning show, again, unless it's a serious topic, but 90% of you are going to be sharing fun information about what you do. Oh, that's another tip too. You've got to know who's going to talk about your topic. So if you're a business topic, you're not going to be on the morning show. The morning show is more lifestyle, interior designers, or, those kinds of things, visual. If you're more serious, you're going to be on the 4 o'clock, the 5 o'clock, maybe the 12 o'clock. So that's the thing too. You have to do your homework. Who's using what kind of guests where? Are you a doctor what you're going to talk about? And that could be a morning show. It really depends on what it is, but that's where you have to do the homework. You have to decide, where do you want to be? What kind of stories do they cover? Because guess what? If you pitch a story similar to what they've been covering related to your topic, they're probably going to say yes. But if you're so off the wall on something that is not at all what they cover normally, they're just going to delete it. So you need to do your homework. But then preparing, again, by watching, you should know. And here's the other thing, you guys, and this is just a confidence thing for anybody who gets that last minute TV or just regular TV segment. You know this. It's all right here. They are not there to trip you up. They are not there to make you look bad. If they ask you a question that you don't know, you can say, hey, you know what? I've never really thought of that. I really don't have an answer. However, blah, 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 blah. That's okay. You can say that. It's not a problem. It's better than trying to fumble and say something and then you blow it. And I don't know what your client did, but that could be, sometimes they get so worked up if they get a question they don't know the answer to. Say you don't know. It's okay.
It's okay, but have something prepared to say, right? I guess you don't want to sit there and just go, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's,
I don't know. But have you ever thought of this? Or, but here's something similar, but right. It's a conversation. Remember, that's all TV is. You're just having a conversation with somebody. Just like you're at a cocktail party, that you just meet somebody. You don't get all flustered and nervous. You talk. You talk about what you know, and that's what a TV segment's about. It's what you know. Or an interview. I'm just going with TV because I do a lot of TV. And
yeah, well, fair enough. But any interview situation, I think that's fair. Now, how much does social media matter to either getting you PR or making you giving you celebrity? How much do you do with social media, and how important is it?
So here's where it's important. 2 people pitch. There's a breaking news story, and you and I both pitch. And I have 50,000 followers, and you have 5. Who do you think they're going to take? Because you are going to push their story out to more people. So Will you only get a yes if you have a big following? No, 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 no. I'm just saying if it's like down to 2 people and they've got to decide, they're going to look at that, or they've got one segment to fill and both are great stories, but this person can really blast it on social. They're going to lean towards that.
Okay, so social, so I'm thinking now it's consistency, it's good posts, and it's having that, so getting engagement, getting following.
Well, and showing your expertise.
And yes.
That's really, I mean, this is, if you want to be on TV and your expertise and you're posting everything you've had for dinner this week, that's not quite the same thing. You know, it's, if you're,
so you got to be brand consistent.
Yes.
So what you're projecting to the station or whatnot is what they see when they get to your social media.
Exactly. And you can mix it up, but you need to make sure that you're showing who you are and what you are.
Excellent. So now, are there any other tips? Maybe something else I've missed, something that you're going, but if you're a speaker, this is something you should do to get known.
Again, and I cannot stress this enough. What is your topic? They are not going to put you on TV or interview you as a speaker. Again, I'm not being mean. Nobody cares. Nobody cares you're a speaker. They care about your expertise. They care about what it is you speak about. And same thing with an author. I have had so many clients like, oh, I'm an author and I should be on TV because I'm an author. I'm like, no, you're going to be on TV because you are an expert in this space, and that book is your calling card, and it just gives you more credibility. But it's very difficult to, and I have gotten clients on with just their book, but again, it's a one and done. But for the most part, that's not it. Always remember value to the audience. What can you provide to the audience that's valuable?
So do you recommend doing press releases?
No.
I know this is something you can do. You can, right? You can buy a press release or do a press release. I'm feeling from you there's not a lot of value to that. Tell me why.
You could send me your $500. I will write your little email for you. They don't read them. I have interviewed so many journalists. If you want to stick it at the end of your short and sweet pitch, like I talked to you about, you can, because they know how to read it and how to do it. I do know a lot of PR people who send them, but like sending, so let me back up a little bit. Back in the day, sending out a press release was exclusive to Real News. You sent it across the wires and it went to the right people. Now, you know this, I know this, you can go online and send a press release, spend $500, and it sits on the server for 48 hours, and nobody uses it. And then I've had people who have all these logos, and I'm like, oh my God, that's fabulous. How did you do that? They're like, oh, I sent out a press release. Like, no. Were you interviewed on those stations? No. They just put my press release up. I'm like, no. That doesn't count. No. So don't waste your money on that. Spend your time to learn how to do this strategically. Find your journalists who you want to pitch and do the short and sweet, really good, timely, relevant pitches and get them to them consistently so they start to recognize you. It took me 5 months to get on my ABC station when I started back in 2012, maybe? I don't even remember. But I got no. And I joke because August is the slowest news time. And I finally got the yes in August. And I was like, he's probably like, let me just get her on. She'll be terrible. Nobody's watching. And
nobody cares.
Right. And I was good. I prepared. And he even said, he goes, wow, you knocked it out of the park. He's like, come back anytime.
Wow.
That's what you
want to hear, right? Is because you will come back again and again. Like you said,
Yes.
It's not a one and done if you do a good job. All right. Well, thank you so much. I feel I wanted to be taking notes while you were talking. I thought that'd be rude. So I'm going to go back and listen to my own podcast. But let me ask you. So if you, like all you know now, if you were able to go back to you when you were starting out as a speaker, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
So I'll tell you a quick story. I was petrified with public speaking. Petrified. And I had a mentor and we would go to lunch once a month. And he always said, Christina, your story is so good. You need to share your story. And I was like, no, I am not. No. So he called me one day and he said, what are you doing tomorrow at 12? And I said, oh, thinking it's our lunch. And I said, yeah, I'm free. And he goes, great. I just bailed on a small speaking engagement. I put you in on my place. Exactly. I know you'll do fine. And I was like, what? You did what? So I literally took a piece of paper, and I don't know if you're audio or video, but I folded
We
a piece
do
of
both.
paper.
So if you're not watching this, hop over to YouTube. All right.
No, right. So I have a folded piece of paper, and I literally, you guys, I kind of told my story like this. And then this happened. And then this happened. Oh, slide.
Looking at the notes. Yep.
And I was horrible. And at the end, everybody came up to me and said, "Oh my God, what a great story." And I said, wow, I better learn how to be a good speaker. I better invest in myself. And I did. And the story is good. And I'm fortunate that I get to tell it a lot. But so that's the thing is know how to really tell your story well. And don't be afraid to get up in front of people, and know that nobody there wants to see you fail. People just want to hear what you have to say and how can you touch them and help them.
And I've got to jump in though, but she's not saying don't practice. It's just, I mean, that was your big break, right?
That was my oh my God, practice. After that, I did. I practiced, and anytime I had anything, and now, 10,
well,
15
now
years
you're just
later.
cool. You're just cool on stage, but that's also why you're on QVC. That's also why you're on the news, right? Is you can just step in front of a camera or a stage and it rolls off. But apparently
no, I
day
couldn't.
one was not like that.
I could not do that back then. And to think now that I'm doing what I'm doing and looking back, it's like, wow. So know that anything is possible, that it's just, I would say it's muscle memory. And the more you practice it, the easier it is. And just keep doing it and keep perfecting you and what you're doing, because the world needs to hear your story.
Well, thank you so much, Christina Daves, for being on Path to the Main Stage podcast. You absolutely, I was ticking off all the tips you were giving, and it was much more than the 5 you promised. So thank you so much. And for everybody, we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to Path to the Main Stage. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And for full video episodes, check out YouTube. If you want to be a successful speaker, you need to make it happen. My co-hosts and I are here to help guide you. But if you need more help, please check out pathtothemainstage.com, where we can connect. And until next time, keep sharing your voice, keep showing up, and keep taking your path to the main stage.